welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Guys, we are retired New York City police detectives with 20 plus years of law enforcement. I know like everybody likes when I say law enforcement. If you like all things true crime related from that police perspective, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload another video. Today, we're going to talk about the similarities between Trezell and Jacqueline West and Don and Candus West. Don and Candus Wells. West, Wells. It's almost all the same. They're all four of them are telling great stories to us, and we're not believing any of it. But before I get into it, I want to say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all of the folks who positively engage in all of these live streams. You guys are what makes this a great place. And I want to say thank you to the replay viewers, because without you guys replaying these live streams, we got a lot of nothing. Joining me today is Ed Wallace, who is a repeat he's a repeat visitor of the COVID-19 bug. So he is now tested positive for COVID again. He's joining us with no symptoms, and he doesn't have to wear a mask because he's coming to us remote. Ed Wallace, what's happening?
Good afternoon, everybody.
What happened? You got the bug again, huh?
Yeah, I was working with a co-worker out of state in Providence, Rhode Island, and the guy was hacking up all over the place. I asked him, had he, you know what? Let me,
I see.
let me shut the settings down here. Hold on.
Okay. All right. You want me to remove you or you want to come back?
Hold on. Let me just shut that down. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, it's driving us nuts too. We're looking.
There we go.
All right, that's better.
All right. So I was working with this guy, and he was coughing up all over the place. And I said, "I hope you got tested before you came here." And he said, "No." And I gave him a test. He tested negative on Monday. So I came home Tuesday, and he notified me Wednesday that he tested positive. So I tested Wednesday and negative. I tested Thursday negative. I tested positive yesterday.
But no symptoms, no coughing, other than some sinus stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
And my doctor is having a prescription of a Pfizer therapeutic pill that was authorized by the Food and Drug Administration for me to take after being diagnosed with COVID. So I'll have that antiviral treatment going starting tomorrow.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to keep our fingers crossed for Ed Wallace that he doesn't get any more symptoms. But the good news is we get him for the next 3 days. He doesn't have to work. He can't go to work.
Yeah, my trip to Nashville is canceled because I have COVID.
That sucks. On a positive note, Dave Rader sent hats for me and you. I have yours here, and he signed the brim of it. We have signed Dave Rader hats.
Oh, so, yeah, Hulk Hogan, I see.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan signed the EquiSearch hat. Let me take this. I hate when people wear. You know what? I'll leave it on for the live stream. I got to take the little sticker that's on there from the hat. But they're really nice hats, and you and I both got them, and yours is signed as well, Ed.
Nice.
In addition to that, I just want to make mention that the EquiSearch Midwest, all the members sent this many cards to me and you, Ed, thanking us and thanking the DutyRon community for all of the donations for the charity fundraiser that we did. Let me go full screen with me so everybody could see all these cards. So it's a whole bunch of thank yous.
That's so nice of them.
Yeah, coming from the members, you know. So EquiSearch Midwest members sent these cards in the box that we got our hats and all our goodies and extra stuff to give away. Let's jump right into it, Ed, because let's address the elephant in the room. All right. Trezell and Jacqueline West, on your birthday, on March 1st, gets collared. They get arrested. That's our police talk. That's police jargon for an arrest. They get collared over in Bakersfield. Immediately, we start hearing in the background, in the Twitter sphere, on YouTube land, that Candus is starting to a brick. So she's getting nervous. She sees that there's a similar situation going on. A year plus 14 months investigation. Bakersfield Police Department took the case over of Oren and Orson West, Sincere and Classic. They took the case over March 1st of 2021, and here we are, fast forward a year later, and the cuffs come out. Smith and Wesson, click, click, and they're in custody. How much does Don and Candus have to worry, Ed, at the long arm of the law? We always like to talk about the long arm of the law reaching out, and you can run, but you can't hide. And we always had that thing in the NYPD where if we chased somebody, a bad guy, and they got away, most of the bosses would say, "We'll get him another day."
Exactly.
You want to talk a little bit about Candus and Don, how they should be?
Don is in jail, right? And only those two, and maybe the grandmother, and any other potential confidential people they may have talked to that we don't know about what transpired, know what's the real deal here. And him being in jail, and she on the internet now, and I mean, her whole behavior on the internet is absurd, to say the least. It's something a normal parent missing a child wouldn't be doing, it, especially if you look at the conversation she's having. There's not one conversation about her missing child. It's about her. It's about her makeup. It's about all these different things, and it's bizarre beyond words. And so, I mean, there's only so much he's going to take in prison, while he's sitting there rotting away, and she's out there. Looks like she's moving on and leaving him in the dust. Yeah. And that before he said, you know what, I'm not sitting in here. I'm going to make a deal, and I'm going to give up what happened.
Before she does. Yeah. It's funny. Candus is on the YouTubes with a bunch of her friends that she thinks she has on YouTube, and she's talking about she changed the color of her hair and coming on drunk and slurring her speech and not speaking at one point. I mean, I listened to a couple of clips. I couldn't stand to listen to a lot of it because, again, I see right through all of this, and I've said it from the beginning, and so have you. Everything about the Wells family reeks of guilt, and it reeks of deception. We spoke about this with Trezell and Jacqueline West. These cases are so aligned on two different sides of the United States.
And it's the same thing with the Laundries. And it's the same thing with the family in New Hampshire.
Yeah, Harmony Montgomery. I mean, Adam and Kayla, they reek of deception. They reek of guilt. And again, innocent until proven guilty. We could talk about that until we're blue in the faces. But we as investigators, the people who walk the walk and talk the talk, we've had evil right in front of us. I've interviewed so many people and supplemented so many homicides and missing person cases over my course of time, sat in on interviews and interrogations, and I've seen these kind of people. And you know what? If somebody really has the best interest of their daughter or their sons in the forefront, they're not carrying on and putting their energy into nonsense, into where is it? Hold on, I gotta make full screen. Into Jaggaloonism. Ed, go ahead, take it over.
So we've, I don't know about you, but my wife and I both have training in interview and interrogation techniques.
Yes.
And one of the premier experts in this is from the FBI, and he goes around and he teaches people about how to read body language. Because there's two things that you can't hide: comfort and discomfort. If you're comfortable, you're going to give a certain appearance, and you're going to do certain actions with your body, your eyes, your head, the way you speak, the way you sit. And if you're uncomfortable and in discomfort, you'll see all those tells. All right. It's like playing poker. You'll see the tells when somebody is not being truthful with you, when somebody is uncomfortable. Okay. And in these interviews with these parents that were from the news, gave those tells, and what they're doing now, especially the stuff on the internet, gives those tells as well. And again, it's not normal. Normal people in the same situation with their child missing would not be doing these things.
Yeah. A message wholeheartedly agreed. And I see everybody in the chat is pretty much concurring with what we're saying. I want to play for the audience, and I know we've seen this many times, but I'm going to play back to back the interview with Candus Wells when she first gave her first interview. Now she's morphed into quite a character going forward from this date, which was early on in the Summer Wells case. So just a short time after June 15th, when they came up with that she went in the house and she was gone. Remember that whole statement she made? We're going to hear that in a few seconds. That she was just gone. So we're going to listen to that. We're going to listen to Trezell and Jacqueline West, and you're going to see the similarities in the deception in the stories that do not add up. They don't make sense. And we're in that same boat. It's the same hogwash that we're going to hear on both counts here. So let me go right to this, Ed, and let's cut to the chase.
We miss her very much. She was the angel, our blessing.
Right away off the bat, here she is saying she was. This is just a short time after she was reported missing or wandered off or picked up by somebody off their property. And she is saying she was, talking about past tense.
And she's looking to the left. She can't look into the camera or to the person that's questioning her or talking to her. She seems, I don't know, she seems emotionless and maybe stoned. I don't know what's going on there.
Definitely either on drugs and alcohol or both, so there's no question about that. And that's well documented. She's been on YouTube night after night to the point where you can't even understand her speech. And that is troubling in itself.
Without giving away the store about reading body language.
Right. Exactly.
When you do certain things, when asked the question, such as eyes up and to the left or eyes down and to the right and so forth, I'm not going to give away what that all means, but you're accessing certain parts of your brain.
Right.
One of those tales is to lie, and the other is, to access your memory to tell the truth. Okay. And so, not to give away the store and what we do and how we do it, just know that that's what goes on when we're looking at you and we're asking you a question and you start moving your eyes in certain directions and so forth.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I went to several interview and interrogation courses. One of them was through the military, the Army in Farmingdale out in Long Island. And I took that course. There's just so much to it that we have that we're not going to put out there to give the bad guys tip off. But we had polygraph expert Dan Ribicoff and also Michael Della Penna from the FBI, retired polygraph expert. He brought exactly that up, Ed. Let's go right back to this.
And speaking of polygraphs, you don't beat the machine.
Yeah.
You beat the person working the machine.
Exactly.
For their ability not to understand deception.
Yeah. Well said. And definitely I concur 1000%. Here we go.
The love of our life. She's what made our world go around.
It's been 13 days since Candace Bly and Donald Wells last saw their 5-year-old daughter, Summer.
I'm just scared that somebody's hurting her, and there's nothing I can do about it. It smothers me.
As the almost 2-week-long search through the rough terrain scales back, Summer's parents say they believe someone took their daughter.
Personally, I think someone came up here and grabbed her and ran down the hill.
I think so,
and
too.
Threw her in a car and drove as far away as they could from this area.
I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her and has lured her away from here.
Around 6:30 in the evening on June 15th, her father called to report her missing, but he wasn't home yet from work.
Me and my mother and her.
And we come to know that a lot of this story is not true. So even the part about Don not being there, it's all argued on the internet that was not true. There's so many holes in this early story, but this is 13 days after they reported the daughter missing. So this is the mom and dad. These are cut up pieces, but I like these pieces because they go over some of the bits, some of the nuggets, and some of the deception that they create here.
We're planting flowers. Her away from here.
Around 6:30 in the evening on June 15th, her father called to report her missing, but he wasn't home yet from work.
Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer. I'll be back. And within 2 minutes, I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone.
Summer has 3 older brothers.
When they get out of line, she'd put them in line.
Her parents say she loves princesses, especially the movie Frozen, and to be outside.
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired.
She'd love to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
Now, authorities are looking for the driver of a red Toyota Tacoma that was in the area around the time Summer went missing, and stressing that this person is a potential witness.
I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen.
No one has been named a suspect, and authorities have not ruled Summer's disappearance as an abduction. But tonight, her parents have one plea.
Please find it in your heart, have mercy, and find a way of letting her go and where we can get her back.
Please bring her back home.
Just let her come home, please.
We miss her so much. Her brothers are so devastated that they wake up every morning crying for their sister. And as a mother, it really hurts to see your other children crying.
Yeah, I don't fall into that whole pity party with what she's portraying there. Again, you know, we saw the inside of that home courtesy of another content creator, and we also know that the children were removed. And when the children were removed for safety, Don, their own father, their own flesh and blood, said they're better off not being here. I don't know if any of you remember that, but I, as a detective, retired detective, certainly remember and home in on that. I mean, I don't know any good parents, and everyone has their opinions on these two. You know, there are the sympathizers, and there are the people like myself who see through them and see what's going on here and look at the big picture. And we compare these two, Ed, to Trezell and Jacqueline West, who painted a picture of everything was fine and peachy. We have our own home. They're brothers. They loved each other, and they're rambunctious kids, and all of this parallels. It's just all hogwash, and I don't buy it, and I don't care what anybody thinks. And I was right about Trezell and Jacqueline West. We were both right about it, and I feel like these two know exactly what happened, and it's just a ruse.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, again, she looks medicated or intoxicated. Eyes are glassy. No real emotion. She's not crying. She's not, you know, hysterical that her kid is missing.
Right.
It's just unusual behavior. It's just not normal for the circumstances.
And we fast forward from June 15th to today in 2020, where we're approaching a year. Coming up in a few short months, we'll be at that year point. And she's on YouTube, whether she's taking drugs to medicate herself, whether she's drinking. We know that they drink. They talk about it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. They drink, they self-medicate, and this is something that they've been doing all along. This didn't just happen when Summer went missing. The house was in shambles. That place, she told all of us that she left her kids home to clean that house. And we saw a person go into that home with a freaking video camera, you know, way after that point. And we saw the interior of that home look like a freaking bomb hit it. Yeah. It was despicable. It's not a place for kids to be living. And if anybody wants to try to justify that and say, well, they're different than everybody else. You can't judge them. Well, yeah, no, you can judge them because that's not a safe environment for children to be living in.
It's endangering the welfare of a minor. Even their alcoholism and drug use is endangering the welfare of the minor.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Especially if it's illegal use of drugs. Okay. Or even if it's abuse of prescription drugs. It doesn't matter.
Right.
They're endangering the welfare of these minors.
Right.
And they shouldn't have been there. Now, again, remember, they didn't help with the searches.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No help at all. None at all. So again, we look at the parallels of who Don and Candus Wells are and who Trezell and Jacqueline West are. And they're not far from each other. They're not far apart. There may be some difference in ages and in the way they live and in the parts of the United States that they live in, but they each have been deceptive with investigators, lack of help. Remember, Trezell and Jacqueline West did not once come out of their house, with the exception of that interview that I'm going to play in a few minutes. And that interview that they gave us, we come to find out, and I knew it all along, was just a complete lie. Those boys never made it, Sincere and Classic, to California City. They murdered them 3 months before in September, between the 1st and the 30th of 2020. And then their backs were against the wall and they had to come up with a story to cover what they did to these poor little boys. And we come to almost know without the details how horrific their last moments were, these boys, and we'll hear it at trial. Again, no two cases are the same, but these are very similar circumstances. It's almost like Don saw this and took the playbook from Trezell and Jacqueline and said, oh, we can maybe concoct some kind of cockamamie story, just like they did out in California, and get away with it. I mean, who knows? All of it just stinks to high heavens. I don't believe it from day one. And I put those cuffs out in my vehicle. You see, when I do those mobile videos, and I put the cuffs out, I did it for Trezell and Jacqueline West. And it came full circle. They're in cuffs on March 1st, 2022. And I see Candus and Don Wells and perhaps others in cuffs in the near future. And I hope and pray for Summer Wells, in the name of her and in the name of justice, that does happen. But Ed, any of your thoughts on these parallels, the way these people are acting?
Well, people who do this share similar characteristics of themselves and the motive of operandi, MOs, on how they do things and what they do. So it doesn't surprise me at all we can do history of these cases, and you'll see that the people involved all have the same characteristics.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we have the data. We have the data from all of the difference, all the different cases that we see. I'm going to just play quickly. I'm not going to play it all because it's 13 minutes, but this is courtesy of Brian Wang. He is the 23 ABC Now Denver 7 reporter that we had on with us. He did this, as we come to find out, it was an impromptu video. This interview was not planned. They were there covering the story, and Trezell and Jacqueline West decided to come outside and give their story. And then we didn't hear anything. Unlike Candus and Don, there was no Jacqueline and Trezell show. There was not the drunken carrying on, cursing, calling each other names, assaulting each other, getting into cars and drinking and driving. These two were just off the radar. That's the differences that they did. Trezell and Jacqueline West just became ghosts. They just disappeared. So as Candus said, Summer just was gone. Like, come on, lady, give me a break. All right, here we go.
And seeing everybody out here, everyone in the community, for all the support we've seen, we've felt so helpless. And seeing everybody out here really looking and helping out really means a lot.
So tell us what happened the night the kids went missing.
Okay.
From our yard.
Okay. It was cold. I was gonna make a fire. So a lot of wood area right here next to our house. I open up the back gate. I'm throwing wood, bringing it inside the house. My wife's inside. She was actually wrapping gifts, so we thought it was a good idea that our youngest two would go outside and play with chalk on the back patio. Do not let them go on the dirt in the backyard. We keep them close. So I was playing with chalk, and I came in the house. I saw them there. I went in the house. I came back out. I didn't see them now. I immediately went back in, asked my wife, "Did you see the boys?" She said, "No, they should be outside playing with chalk." I said, "Well, I didn't see them." So I came back outside and I started searching my backyard. I searched the whole thing. I realized that I left the gate open and I panicked, came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that didn't pan out, I got in the van. I looked down the street, both directions. It was getting dark, getting cold, and I got in the van and I hit a bunch of corners. I went down this street. I turned my light on. I searched. I called their names. Talked to a gentleman on the street on the other side over there. He didn't see me. So then I came home and I told my wife, we need to call the cops. It's getting dark and I need help. We got to get going. So I called the cops. Cops came. First thing they did was tell us to stay in the house so they can get a hold of us. And they had us just sitting there and we wanted to keep searching. But everybody came out in droves. And I wanted to thank you guys that night, but we couldn't go outside.
The cops told us the best are out here.
The best are out here searching. And we appreciate it. And nobody ever could tell, we could never talk to anybody. And that was the issue.
We just want to thank everybody.
We really want to
And,
thank you guys.
Please, if anybody has seen them, please call, let somebody know.
Call the cops. Call California the City Police Department.
And just as a reminder, everyone that's watching this, if you're first time viewing this or by miracle that you've never seen this before, this is all a lie. These two murdered their two adoptive children, Sincere and Classic, Orrin and Orson West, 3 months before giving this interview. So remember, when you see other cases like this, refer back to this and others and look at how these two can look multiple people in the eyes and looking away and getting confronted by the biological, but the birth mother is just to the right of Trezell on the front lawn. And they were confronted by the birth mother and the parents, the biological parents of these two boys, and apologized to them and said, I know you entrusted me with your children, but these are our boys. We named them. He's going to go on to say that now. Let's just listen to a little bit more of this, folks. And thank you for being respectful in the chat. Ed and I appreciate that. We know that everybody is hopped up about Summerwells and the Sincere and Classic and all of our other missing babies. These children, they need us to protect them. They need the world to protect them. If you see something, say something. It just comes into play with all of this. But I need you to see this because this is what the police and the investigators deal with. They have to crack these people, and cracking them sometimes takes over a year. So that's why I'm saying Candus and Don, they should be seriously thinking about coming clean, because what the truth does come to light. Us investigators, we do not stop until we get to answers, until we get justice, until we find out what happens to these missing children. And I know you can speak very strongly about that. We never give up. These cases are on our minds every day. The investigators, the leads, the people who are supplementing, they're on this every day.
So. I know they got a pit bull of a detective working on this. He's doing everything within his powers to get to some form of conclusion on what happened here. Right. There was a question in the chat about whether or not the other siblings were interviewed, and I would imagine they would have been after they've been taken away from the family. They would have been interviewed to see what they know about the situation.
Right. That was a very good question. I highlighted that, and I'm glad you saw it. We were going to circle back on it, but now that you're mentioning it, the children that were removed from Trezell and Jacqueline West here, I'm going to show them on the screen. So the children that were removed from them held the key to investigators to tell them just a week into the investigation that something was off and that something happened. So we're going to hear about Don and Candus' children. It's going to come into play.
And remember, everything we're watching here is up until this point when the birth parents come in. All of this is scripted, okay? Because they know what happened already. You could see it in her body language and his body language. She's rocking back and forth. She's looking away. He's got his arms closed, okay? So all the signs are there that this is not truthful.
Yeah, 100%. They're creating this this distraction to take away from the crime that they committed. Right? They are 90 miles away from Bakersfield. They ran from the scene of the crime, and they came out to California City, bought a home under some odd pretenses as well, with showing no income. They were able to purchase a home somehow, and they fled the scene of the crime. So again, this is Investigator 101, and this is a great thing. And I'm so glad that KGET and 23 ABC and Eyewitness News, KBAK was there. It's just unbelievable that they got this, and I'm glad that they asked some of these questions. So let's let it run.
Call them and let them know what you've seen, if you see anything. Our boys, they are going to be rambunctious, okay? They are going to be here in this area. And I really would like to go in the houses, but it's not because I want to invade people's privacy.
You remember Don Wells saying he wanted to go into people's houses? Anybody, by a show of hands in the chat, does anybody recall hearing Don Wells say, I want to go into people's houses, or accusing the police of not going into people's houses? I remember that, and I remember it real well. So here's some similarities.
Want to know if make sure. That's it. Because I don't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. If you got any questions.
Oh no, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say, this is the first time we're hearing from you guys, and I can't imagine what you guys are going through. I can't even fathom it. For you guys, for people who are thinking that there's some kind of foul play involved, we just spoke to the biological mother. She says she had a conversation with you guys, and that she thinks there's some kind of foul play involved. That she thinks you guys did something.
And that's understandable.
What's your response to that?
That's understandable. I would think the same thing.
Yep.
I'm going to stop that right there, because what he just said here is not indicative of a parent who has nothing to do with this, with the kids going missing. They both shook their heads and said, we understand. That's understandable. That right there, if I was in that situation and my child, God forbid, children both were missing, I would be like, how dare them? I love these children. They are my life. There is no way that I would have anything to do with that. I don't understand that. That's ridiculous. I would never. I want to find my kids. I am going to be searching night and day. I'm going to be on the top of the roofs of all of these mountains here, on the buildings, searching for them. For them to say that was major league red flag. Major. Both of them shaking their heads.
She thinks
this is Bayan Wang saying that to him. So kudos to Bayan.
You guys did something.
And that's understandable.
What's your response to that?
That's understandable. I would think the same thing.
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly the point. And if we can find our babies, then guess what? That's no. And that's all I want, is to find our babies. That's it. And
he talks about him naming them now. This is his ownership, or already knowing that he murdered them during this interview. He's now going to double down and say, we named them.
I talked to her this morning, and I really wanted to tell her that I am completely sorry, because we were entrusted with her children, and they came to us, and they became our children, and we named them, and they are our children, and so we want them back. So please, if y'all could get back on what you guys are doing, we should be able to get a hold of somebody, but they took all of our tech, so they wanted to, I guess, just rule us out, which makes sense. That's part of the investigation. So that's pretty much it.
Have you guys, you talked to the police all last night?
Yes.
What, so you guys willfully gave them your
Everything.
technology,
Yes.
the car?
Yes.
Did they get how did they get a search warrant? Did you
I
guys?
I,
Oh, no
I don't see
idea.
why they got one, but they got one. We
Yeah,
would
they
have let them
didn't
take
need one,
anything.
but
We would have told them take everything. We let them come in and search with us. We asked them to come do that.
What did they take?
Just tech, and that's it. Like our phones.
From the house, though, did they?
Oh well.
And Ed, you and I both know that that's an outright lie. They didn't just take just tech. You are a crime scene and DNA expert analysis. You process many crime scenes and many scenes like this. Is it just tech that they're taking, Ed? Let's put that one to rest.
They're taking the whole phone and they're dumping the whole phone. They're looking at the cell transmissions. They're looking at phone records. They're looking at the text records. They're also looking at emails. Okay, and they're going to try to track the phone's movements. Where was it pinging from in September? From September 1st to September 30th. Okay. Who were they talking to? Who were they texting to? Who were they emailing? All of that's going to be. What searches did they do on the internet? Okay. They're looking at all of that as well.
Right. Yeah. So, and you also, when we covered this case, when we were talking about it way back, we also said that, we were in agreement that they took bedding, they took any type of hairbrush, toothbrush, anything shared to look for DNA and look for, again, the dogs hit inside the home in California City, and that can be explained when you bring clothing and things of that nature that will have the children's scent on it. So,
Now, what kind of dogs were they? Were they cadaver dogs or were they search dogs?
It was a combo of both, according to the California City Police Chief.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, when this trial commences, we're going to hear a lot more, and there's going to be a ton of more information coming forward. And people are speculating that the children were burned in a fire in the back of the Grandma West home. I feel that that's that's a far stretch to do that. Who would take two little babies and burn them in an open fire in a backyard when we've been there courtesy of YouTubers doing videos from the adjacent lots. It was a chain link fence, and there's a home on the right, there's a home on the left, there's a home in the back. So if you're going to create a scenario where you're going to discard and cremate a body, which you couldn't do anyways in an open fire outside, if you're going to burn two little boys that were murdered, you wouldn't do it in a yard at the Grandma West backyard, because the neighbors on all sides can see. It's three sides going all around. Neighbor here, and a neighbor in the back. Anyways, not probable. Could it be? Is it likely? Highly unlikely. But again, let's just look at when they get confronted by the biological family, because I think this is important too. I wish that Summerwells had the same thing with people questioning Don and Candus like this as they were being interviewed, but this is an open street, and we're going to let this play.
You guys are new.
It's crazy because y'all say y'all came out looking for the kids, and y'all got neighbors that say y'all ain't even came out looking for no kids.
The neighbors weren't out here.
We were looking.
We were looking.
I'm just saying, bro, it's crazy, bro. I got kids of my own.
Where do you live?
Them little boys that y'all raising, them is my biological family.
I understand you, bro.
I don't leave kids outside.
And I understand.
I have 9 kids. I have 9 kids.
There's outside in the backyard that I was watching.
Leave my kids unattended.
3
not
and
even
4-year-old
for a minute.
Like, you sit here.
We get that. We get it.
They were in the backyard.
We feel it.
You don't even look like you worried,
But
man.
you said the gate.
I've been going through it all.
The guy with the Phillies hat is saying you all don't even look like you're worried. Like these is the biological side, the boys, family, all of them there. And they were all questioning. And the woman that has the cup in her hand was actually the foster parents of these 2 boys before they were given to Trezell and Jacqueline West. So this woman with the mask on and the cup and the coffee cup, She was, and you've seen these videos of these boys looking happy and healthy in her home. She provided them, on all accounts, with a very loving, clean family home before Trezell and Jacqueline West came into the picture.
Y'all know y'all finna go inside the house, right?
Yeah.
Y'all are foster parents, right?
No.
Okay,
we're
well, y'all
adopted
adopted
parents.
them,
Yeah,
right?
they are
Okay,
children.
shut the gate. Go in the house. Why did it take both of y'all to go in the house and leave them outside by themselves?
I understand
And
that.
y'all know the gate was
Why
open.
haven't y'all been out with the people around this neighborhood looking with the kids?
Because we already told on
said
camera.
Why haven't you been out with the people in this neighborhood looking for the kids? This was December 23rd. They were reported missing on December 21st.
I
already
see
told
y'all on
them.
no cameras last night. I
No.
need to see y'all out here praying with them people. Them people was supposed to take care of my nephew. Not supposed to happen.
I understand.
Y'all was supposed to take care of my nephew.
I understand.
You actually
If anybody's watching at home who knows anything, or if somebody who has these kids, if they're watching, what is your message to them?
The message has always been, as soon as possible, call the California City Police Department, and please bring our babies home. And that's that.
That's one of the reasons why we actually didn't want to do
This is the reason why.
So Trezell and Jacqueline, especially Jacqueline here, she's annoyed that the biological family, the people who love and care for Sincere and Classic, are off to her right crying. She's annoyed that they're crying, that they know something happened to those boys and that they were full of shit. And she and her husband now start saying, this is the reason why we didn't want to do these interviews or come out, because of these people. Sickening, Ed. Sickening.
It is.
I'm going to let just a minute more of this play, and then we're going to wrap. This just gets worse, and then it cuts off.
Because we were under orders. As soon as possible, call the California City Police Department, and please bring our babies home. And that's that.
That's one of the reasons why we actually didn't want to do this.
This is the reason why. Because we were under orders to stay in the house.
She said because of that bio family. And you could see she's disgusted with them. And shame on her. A piece of garbage. Now she's in lockup.
Because they're going to need to contact us. And we cannot go outside, and that was the issue. We were under orders by the cops to stay home in the house and let the professionals look.
But you just said that they were your children. If they were your children, regardless of what somebody told you, wouldn't you want to go look for them?
Well, we have cops actually posted in the front door right there.
How cold it is at night?
I totally understand.
If you guys actually have that question, you should ask the police officer.
Yes. The kids was left unattended. You guys went in the house, and then the kids disappeared. How did they disappear?
Exactly, and that's the way we try to figure out.
No, it doesn't make sense. How did they disappear? How did they go out? You guys had the house supervised already, and my question is, why were they the only two children out? Where were the rest of the kids?
The rest of the kids were with grandma.
With who?
They left. They went on vacation.
He's saying the other 4 kids were with their grandma. They left and went on vacation, because she was saying, why are the only kids that were outside are these 2 little young babies? Why weren't the rest of your 4 kids outside with them? Why did you let them go out? And this is when he lays on further. The further nonsense and lie is that the other 4 went on vacation. It's December 23rd. December 21st. You're carting off your kids, the 4 kids, your 2 biological and your other 2 adoptive kids, to grandma in 90 miles away, while the little boys stay there with you. You were there alone. And that's why the neighbors, Ed, said they never saw any of the kids there.
I never saw the boys.
Yeah, because they were there alone.
So they didn't.
No, because they're too young. We didn't. We watched them, and it turns out that happened.
How did the
All right, guys, just really quickly before we forget, first and last names.
All right, so Brian Wang, the only thing that I feel he did wrong there is he stopped that. He stopped it to get their names for the official record. He was just getting nervous, I bet, and he thought that there was going to be a fight or something.
Yeah, he didn't want any violence.
I wish that he would have let that continue, because those people were asking the questions that the reporters weren't asking, because they have nothing. There's no restrictions for them. They were asking them the real questions, like, what did you do with these kids? Where did they go? So Candus and Don, they're going to have to face the music. The truth will come to light in this case, and I feel strongly that we are going to see a movement in Summer Wells' case sooner than later. And I feel that. I can feel it. Ed, I don't know how you're feeling on it, but I think that there's a lot of going-ons behind the scenes as far as an investigation goes, and the jig is up for them coming in 2022. I think we are going to see the wheels of justice in motion, and I hope and pray that sooner than later. Any thoughts, Ed?
Absolutely, I agree 100%. He's sitting in that jail, and she's on the internet, and I'm sure that people are telling him what's going on with his wife while he's out there. We'll see what kind of communications he's been having with her. Is she visiting? Is she calling? Is she any communications with him? Because she seems to be moving on with her life while he's in jail.
Exactly. Folks, I'm going to plead to you guys all to, if you can, please consider subscribing to this community. We give you police perspectives, and we give you an education with our guests, our special guests. A lot of them Ed gets, a lot of them I get. We work together. We try to give you the behind the scenes from that police and investigator perspective, from the folks who actually did these types of investigations. So if you can subscribe, follow Ed and I on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, unfortunately, we're on TikTok, and Ed has no choice in that. His videos and that he creates with me, we do them together. We put them up on TikTok. So follow us on all social media. One word, DutyRon. Go on over to DutyRon.com, where you can have links to the Gabby Petito Foundation. There's movement in that case. You can see links to this case, Sincere and Classic, Summer Wells, Harmony Montgomery. All of our cases are on DutyRon.com. I want to say a real thank you to everyone who's contributed to EquiSearch Midwest, who supports us on Patreon. We are going to do tomorrow a Patreon-only live stream, and also members only. That'll be in the mid-morning or early afternoon. Because I know now that Ed can't go out and infect anybody. He has to quarantine. I got him. We got him. Not me. So thank you to all the new subscribers, the people who support us off of YouTube. Melissa, thank you for that super sticker, the $10. Much appreciated. Brent Montgomery, thank you. We appreciate the super chats and the support. You guys are all awesome. And you know what? I get it. A lot of you guys are on fixed incomes and you can't send those super chats. We value you folks just the same as anybody that's given, whether it's 50, 25, $2. No, if you're not contributing or you're not able to contribute, just watch the videos, let the ads play, shop our Amazon affiliate link, support us by leaving comments. You are doing it. So even though you're not reaching into your purse or your pocketbook or your wallet, you're still supporting this community by watching the videos and letting the ads play. So Brent Montgomery, you are awesome. I tell you, Brent Montgomery, Ed, sends so many pictures, audio, video, investigative stuff from Google Earth to me and to many other creators. And he told me early on, he was like, Ron, I don't think you need to respond to all of my stuff because I'm going to be overloading you. And Brent is a true gentleman, and I appreciate you, appreciate your support. Ed, any thoughts on, because this is, we did touch on it quick, but before we go, the children of Candus and Don were quickly removed. I would have liked to have seen it happen quicker, but they were removed from that home, and now they are in probably foster care, but social workers and investigators have access to them. Any thoughts on similarities here? We know that Trezell and Jacqueline West, their children were questioned, and they definitely did give investigators an insight to some of the things that were going on behind the scenes. Any thoughts on the Wells children?
Well, it should have been the same here. They should have been interviewed by the social workers. They should have been interviewed by law enforcement to see what they saw, understand what they saw or heard, or any conversations they were privy to between the parents and grandparents and anybody else any phone conversations they may have overheard. You want to try to gather that information from these kids. And, you know, I mean, it takes a skill set to interview children. And so hopefully they have the right people in place to do this.
Right, exactly. And, you know, Sensible Crime asks the question, how can Candus afford a hotel room and do things that she does? Well, she's on YouTube, and lots of foolish people send her money. And that's how she can afford that. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You got a bunch of jagaloons that encourage somebody who we know knows the answers of what happened to Summer Wells, and they're funding them. They're, you know, giving them encouragement for their own benefit, and it's just sickening. It's despicable. I would never do it. I don't encourage anybody to do it. I don't encourage you to go over and encourage the behavior, because it's toxic and it's dangerous. It doesn't help bring justice for this poor little 5 going on 6-year-old girl who we don't know what happened to her. But I could tell you this: she's not alive. That's for sure. So
I agree.
Yeah. So, you know, people that are feeding or fueling the fire of toxic nonsense that's leading to zeros on getting answers, that's holding police down by having the police having to come out for ruckuses and disorderly conduct and criminal behavior. All of that shit is not helping find out what happened to Summer Wells. It is Jagaloon 101. You look it up in the dictionary. It's an adult that acts like a child, and there's a ton of it going on and circling around that case. A ton of it that was circling around the Trezell and Jacqueline West case. But thank God the police department, the FBI, they circled in on and homed in on their skills. They used their skill set. They got what they needed to make an arrest, and now we need to find out where the boys are. That's the next thing. Guys, on behalf of Ed Wallace, who now is a new COVID member again, he's a 2-timer. On behalf of Ed Wallace and DutyRon, we wish you guys a great Saturday. I hope everybody has a good weekend, and we'll see you guys on the members only live stream tomorrow. I hope you guys will join us in the memberships. Ed?
Well, a little moment of levity. You know, I see in the chat several people talk about my haircut. So just so you know, I got to sit in the police car for this one. And after it was done, the barber gave me a lime lollipop.
Outstanding, Ed. You got a head of hair that I only wish I could have. All right, listen, I got to take Mrs. DutyRon out and do some shopping. Love and respect from our house to yours. As I like to end all of these, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially all victims of crime and their family. Sincere and Classic, Summer Wells, Harmony Montgomery, the list goes on and on and on. They all need us now more than ever. Let's say prayers, strength, and positive vibe for everyone involved in bringing justice for these little victims.
Amen. And thank you for your well wishes. I see it on the chat.
Good day, everybody, and thank you for joining. Peace.